Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Lam, sitting in for Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. A group called on Governor Gavin Newsom to veto a medical bill. That's as the deadline for vetoes approaches at midnight. We'll hear what they are opposing and the consequences they're warning of if the bill turns into law. Catholic priests in San Francisco have been hit a wide range of sexual abuse allegations. We'll look at what the allegations are. And it's time for mail delivery. That is, if the local USPS can hire enough people. I went to a local training facility where the Postal Service is looking to hire and train a lot of new members ahead of the holiday season. A medical misinformation bill is just hours away from becoming law in California. That's if the governor does not veto it by midnight. NTD's Daniel Hall spoke to opponents before they rallied at the last moment to call on the governor to veto the bill.
Doctors and lawyers alike gathered on the steps of the California Capitol building on Friday to call on the governor to veto a bill that would censor what it calls medical misinformation. Lee Dundas, one of the lawyers at the event, spoke to NTD as she made her trip to Sacramento.
Well, the bill is essentially about criminalizing free speech by medical professionals in the state of California. Right now, what this bill says is that all doctors have to go along with whatever the prevailing narrative is.
Dundas is talking about Assembly Bill 2098.
It's pretty clear it's being pushed by the pharmaceutical lobbyists and industry, because when you look at the bill's authors, it is Senator Richard Pan, who has traditionally been the bag holder for pharma in our state, along with Senator Scott Wiener and Assemblyman Lowe.
Nicole Pearson, another lawyer at the event, talked to NTD after she arrived at the Sacramento airport about the consequences of Governor Gavin Newsom not vetoing the bill.
If he doesn't veto it, he's telling Americans that the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, your careers, again, your education and training don't matter and don't have protections, not only in the state of California, but across the United States if he runs for president.
Dundas stressed another consequence.
I think you're going to see a huge brain drain, a mass exodus of the most talented doctors in the nation doing cutting-edge medical innovative work who are going to say, to heck with that. I'm not risking my license by discovering something new and not being able to talk about it in California.
Pearson said the law would also have ongoing consequences for not just Californians, but also potentially Americans.
Because this is what we call in the law a slippery slope. And it starts with the medical professionals, and right now it's physicians and surgeons. Then it will apply to the nurses who don't want to assist because they disagree. And it's going to trickle down until it's you. It's you. And then, like I said, not just you, the everyday average California citizen, but every American citizen if Governor Newsom becomes president.
The two cited how much the COVID narrative has changed.
And then 2 weeks ago, you have the premier medical journal on the planet, the New England Journal of Medicine, coming out and saying, just kidding, after we've done some studies, we have found not only are they ineffective in childhood populations, all they have is negative efficacy, meaning your child is more likely to contract the disease if they've had the shot than if they've not.
And just to be clear, it's not just, fringe doctors. We have Paul Offit, who was on the FDA advisory board, the CDC advisory board. He is changing his tune. We have Dr. Malhorta, who's out of Europe. He's changing his tune. He was one of
Pearson added that legal teams are prepared if the bill becomes law.
The lawsuits are written. They are ready to go if this bill becomes law. And like I said, it's patently illegal and unconstitutional on its face. It is going to be struck down, even if we have to take it all the way to the Supreme Court, but it will be struck down.
If Newsom does not veto the bill, it will automatically be signed into law at midnight on September 30th. Daniel Hall, NTD News, California.
A sailor who was accused of one of the worst non-war maritime disasters in the country's history has been found not guilty. On Friday, a military judge acquitted sailor Ryan Sawyer Mays of arson that set the USS Bonhomme Richard ablaze. 21-year-old Mays broke into tears and hugged audience members after being delivered the not guilty verdict. Outside the courthouse, he described the last 2 years as the hardest of his life. The Navy now faces allegations of improper training and maintenance of the $1.2 billion warship. Advocates for victims of sexual abuse by Catholic priests released a list of more than 300 accused abusers. All of these abusers are associated with the Archdiocese of San Francisco.
The survivors' network of those abused by priests delivered its list of 312 names on Thursday, along with a letter to Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone. The letter urges him to release his own internal list of credibly accused priests.
Having a list of predators is a very important feature for survivors who are still trying to understand what happened to them.
He goes on to say that it's in the interest of public safety that lists ensure that accused priests who are still alive become known to families who attend church in the Archdiocese. The San Francisco Archdiocese is one of only 15 in the U.S. that has not publicly listed abusive priests, a number representing less than 10% of all dioceses. The Archdiocese says its policy is to report sexual abuse allegations to authorities, an independent review board, and parishes. The first public lists were published 2 decades ago. Dioceses often release such lists in response to external events such as a criminal investigation. The sexual abuse of children by the clergy and the subsequent cover-ups began to receive public attention during the late 1980s. By the 1990s, cases were being heavily covered in the media. Since then, widespread abuse has been exposed worldwide. Abuse survivor Melinda Costello shares the impact of such abuse.
Never ending, yeah. It affected my whole life, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't have nightmares of it, but my childhood was ruined forever. Can't repeat that.
The cases demonstrate global patterns of long-term abuse as well as the church's pattern of covering it up. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
A serial robber dubbed as the Blue Cloth Bandit was arrested in LA on September 24th. He was tied to over 60 armed robberies. According to the Los Angeles Police Department, a serial armed robber linked to over 60 robberies was arrested at his home in Quartz Hill on September 24th. Dubbed as the Blue Cloth Bandit, Charles Chukwuma Onwumeli, 29 years old, used a blue cloth to cover his handgun during the robberies. He targeted gas stations, 7-Eleven, and Walmart stores throughout the city and county of Los Angeles. Anyone with information about the case was urged to call LAPD Robbery Homicide Division Detective Esther Mayapi at 213-486-6840. Tipsters may also call Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS. The Los Angeles District Attorney's Office filed 16 counts of robbery against Onwumeli for the crimes, and additional charges will be filed soon. The United States Postal Service has a shortage of staff. According to a spokesperson in Silicon Valley, their staff numbers are down about 20%. As they're gearing up for a mega hiring event in October, I got to see what it's like to be a mail carrier. This is one of the many vehicles at the USPS Center in Willow Glen. Now, a spokesperson told me that with the November and December months coming up, they want to hire more mail carriers to keep up with holiday demand. Hastings said there's about 150 delivery carriers just at the Willow Glen Post Office, located in Silicon Valley's San Jose.
We have a lot of vacancies, a lot of open positions, and that has to do with people retiring, the Bay Area just growing and expanding, especially the San Jose area. We're just adding more and more routes.
They're hoping to get 1,500 to 2,000 applicants this hiring season to ramp up their delivery force. They held a 4-day training for 6 mail carriers, and NTD got a look on day 3 of training.
So when people go through the process, they've been selected to come in for a position, they'll come see us.
When entering a property, realize that a dog may be present, even if you don't see or hear it.
The trainers, they are tremendously helpful. They are very knowledgeable. They teach, not only give us theoretical information, they make us do here. So we know, practically we get to do it, and we know what we will be doing on the field.
Getting out on the streets, delivering, walking, losing some weight. I feel good about it because it feels like it's going to be organized. I'm going to know exactly what I'm doing, when I need to do it, and how to get it done the correct way with minimal issues.
Which would be called the DPS.
Veteran postal worker Susan Shishido gave NTD a walkthrough of the Letter Carrier Academy. The first thing they do in the morning is grab a scanner and clock in. Then grab a stack of unsorted mail.
This is called the hot case, so no, go ahead and grab that mail from you, and that belongs to the route that you will be casing. Okay, so now we get to go to your case.
When it comes to sorting mail into the cases, the standard is 18 envelopes per minute, matching them to their street address.
A lot of times we stay on the same route because we love our customers.
Yes.
Next is to pull down the cased mail from the shelves.
And this is an order that you're delivering it, and then you rubber band it, and then you just keep pulling down right over here.
Shishido works as an instructor at the academy and is a long-term postal worker.
I've been with USPS for 32 years. It's been a very secure job, a job that I love. I love my customers.
She covers the Campbell area.
What would you say is the most challenging part about your job?
Challenging, maybe the heat when it's really hot. We have those days, not very often, but when they're in their 90s, close to 100, that's probably the most challenging.
She says they walk about 12 miles a day. While that's not part of the training, we got a taste of going out on the field.
If the dog comes, you go like this and you put it in front of you and you have your spray ready, just in case. Just in case.
They do not deliver mail if there's a dog outside. Luckily, we didn't see any on this training course. With the prevalence of online shopping, parcel or package volume is expected to quadruple.
Parcels are a different type of delivery. I mean, they take a lot longer. So you're getting out of your vehicle and walking up to someone's door and, knocking on the door, making sure they're there, or leaving it for them at their porch. Whereas a letter, we're putting in mailboxes. It's much quicker.
Mail has been delivered.
If you see any carrier, say hi, and I have more respect now that I know that what they do every single day. So, yeah, just, give a smile and, yeah.
Go post office.
Hastings says there's been a shift to parcel delivery and that he doesn't expect demand to dwindle down, keeping the carriers carrying. David Lamb, Entity News, California. We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we've got for you when we come back. Eureka! Gold mining is still alive in California. Our team went out to learn how people can still find gold in the rivers of certain parts of the state. We'll see all the techniques one needs to see why it's called the Golden State. That and more on California Today. Gold mining. It's what gave the state its name. While mining is far from what it used to be, gold fever isn't completely gone. In one gold rush town, a family of 3 generations is still teaching people how to pan for gold. They taught Entity's Eileen Ng how to strike it rich in the special in-depth report.
Along Highway 49 in Jamestown, visitors pan for gold on Woods Creek. 3 generations of the Prebelik family have been running California gold panning since the late 1970s. The grandfather, Terry Prebelik, moved to California from Minnesota in 1979 when he was working for a newspaper for a printing press.
I was taking my lunch break one day and I looked down on the creek and we were watching this old man sitting down in the creek panning. I'd never seen panning before. And all of a sudden he's waving us down. So we went down and took a look on the creek. He found a 3.5-ounce gold nugget, which is about the size of your palm of your hand right in here. And it was beautiful, and he had me. I was gone from there. Ran out the next weekend and bought pans and went gold mining.
Terry learned the tricks of the trade from old-timer miners. His most memorable moment was when he found 127 ounces of gold.
Oh, that filled the pan up about that thick with gold. And it was just beautiful. It's the biggest nugget I had in there was just under 3 ounces.
Back then, he was able to dive 8 feet underwater to dig for gold. It took 2 days to clean out the crevice. He would sell the gold to make a living and raise his family.
I've had good luck, and some of the days you eat fried egg sandwiches. Other days you eat steak, but it's like life. It's hard work. You got to work it. It's not going to jump in your pan for you. You got to work hard for it.
He passed on his knowledge to his son, Nick, who passed it on to his son, Nate.
Well, it's great. I get to see my son and my father all the time. Everybody doesn't get to do that. you know, and this is the only exercise that Dad gets. He'd be sitting on the couch otherwise watching TV. And I'm lucky in the way that this is my office, you know. It's more meditative than anything for me. So.
Now they teach people how to pan for gold.
So what we do for our guests is to bring them down and give them a full experience as a 1800s miner, basically. We use a little bit more modern tools, of course, but what we do is get them right into the water, get dirty.
Nate demonstrates where and how to dig and how to filter out material.
Any dirt around us is the material that we're going to dig up. We sift through it first using a device called a classifier, and that's where we filter out large rocks, anything larger than a ½ inch actually.
They get rid of all the material and collect all the remaining sandy bits.
Then we have a device called a sluice box we set right in the creek, and it filters it even further. So we can run anywhere from 1 5-gallon bucket of material to 100 5-gallon buckets of material. And it's gonna sift it all down to just 1 gold pan's worth.
This way, the box does 100 times the work, making the process quicker.
So just go ahead and fill them up with water, and we're gonna dump it right into the top.
Nate gave a manual panning demonstration.
Okay, you're fine. We're gonna finish rinsing off the sides. There we go. One more for luck. Let's see what we get. There we go, beautiful. I'll take that gold pan from you now. Thank you. And now we got 3 other segments in here. We got these large riffles that act like the bedrock we've been talking about. Okay. The water's gonna run across this and get caught underneath these large riffles. So we got that rinsed off, we'll set that to the side. And then we got this metal grate right here. It's roughly a ½ inch thick grate, and this is capturing even finer material than the large grate. Wow. And so each one of these little areas is gonna collect material for us.
As he pours out excess water, he explains that gold is heavy and stays at the bottom, so he isn't worried about accidentally letting any slip away.
We're gonna go ahead and set down our gold pans and pour our pay dirt right inside of it. So I just use a little bit of water, splash out the material. There we go, we're gonna get it all inside of our gold pan.
Lastly,
Beautiful.
we use
All
the
cleaned
pan
up.
to sift the remaining material. Water and gravity holds the heavy stuff back until only gold is left.
We're looking for bright yellow sunshine.
There's that piece up there.
Is that? Eureka, we're rich!
As for storing, Nate scoops some water from the river into a tiny jar. We used our fingers to pick up the tiny pieces and put them in the jar for display.
So a lot of modern miners use what's called a snuffer bottle, just a little suction device to suck all this up. Oh. I don't really use all that fancy equipment, so I just use my hand and the creek that I'm in. The world's largest piece of crystalline gold, clocking in at over 24 pounds, was found here. So there's a possibility to strike it incredibly rich. But for the most part, we find very small flakes of placer gold today.
Placer gold is little chunks of gold floating in the water. The area is known for lode gold, where the gold is naturally formed to the quartz crystal.
That's what the big ticket item is out here. Being able to find any gold attached to this quartz is what made this area so valuable back in the day. Between 1849 and early 1900s, they pulled an estimated 187 tons out of this area.
Despite so many tons of gold being removed, Nate's grandfather estimates that miners have only removed about 15% of the gold in California.
What we find out here is 22 to 23 karat pure gold. Now, you can get 24 karat gold only by chemically processing it. So out here, it's as natural, as pure as it can naturally be.
Visitors can book tours to pan in groups for anywhere from an hour to 3 days. They hope to keep the family business going for years to come. Eileen Ang, NTD News, Jamestown, California.
Now to NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup.
United States women's coach Vlatko Adanovsky is hoping a sold-out Wembley Stadium will create an atmosphere to give his team a real test in next month's friendly against England, with the World Cup less than a year away. Two-time world champions Megan Rapinoe and Becky Sauerbrunn have been joined by an array of young talent in this new-look American squad named on Thursday. The new lineup is due to face England on October 7th and Spain in Pamplona on October 11th. The England matchup in particular will be the first time the American women have played at Wembley since Rapinoe and Sauerbrunn helped the Stars and Stripes to their 4th Olympic gold in 2012. It is expected to be the second largest crowd the U.S. women have ever played for, behind the 1999 World Cup final in Pasadena, California, which drew over 90,000 fans. Newcomers include 17-year-old high school senior Alyssa Thompson, the youngest to get a call-up in some 5 years, and 20-year-old Trinity Rodman, who earned NWSL Rookie of the Year and U.S. Soccer Young Female Player of the Year honors in 2021. Veteran Alex Morgan was ruled out with a knee injury. Shohei Ohtani's bid for a no-hitter ended with 2 outs in the 8th inning, but the Los Angeles Angels two-way player settled for 8 scoreless in a 4-2 victory over the Oakland A's on Thursday night in Anaheim, California. Oakland's Connor Capel singled to center on a 1-2 cutter with 2 outs in the 8th inning on Ohtani's 95th pitch to break up the no-hitter. Dermis Garcia followed with a single, but Ohtani got out of the inning when he retired Shea Langoliers on a grounder to third. Ohtani struck out 10 and walked 1 on the mound, and he went 2 for 4 with an RBI single at the plate. Luis Rengifo, Taylor Ward, and Max Stassi homered for Los Angeles. Angels 4, A's 2. Miguel Vargas capped a 3-run 6th inning with a 2-run tie-breaking single, and Will Smith hit a solo homer in the 8th inning as visiting Los Angeles defeated San Diego in the rubber match of a 3-game series. The Dodgers finished the season series with the Padres with a 14-5 record. Los Angeles has won 9 straight series against San Diego, dating back to June 2021. The Padres still saw their magic number for clinching an NL wildcard spot reduced to 3 as both Philadelphia and Milwaukee lost on Thursday. San Diego maintains a 2.5-game lead over the Phillies in the race for the second of 3 wild cards, and the Padres have a 3-game edge on the Brewers. Dodgers 5, Padres 2. Ford Proctor smacked a grand slam for his first major league home run, and San Francisco beat visiting Colorado for the 8th straight time. Carlos Rodon struck out 10 in 6 shutout innings for the Giants, who earned their 9th win in 10 games. By completing a 3-game sweep, San Francisco climbed back to 500 for the first time since August 23rd. Giants 6, Rockies 4.
And that's all for the sports.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-Today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Lam, sitting in for Liang Zhang. Have a wonderful weekend.